Good. I'm so excited for this episode. We've been waiting a while to get one of these going, so I'm ready.
Before we get into the meat and potatoes here, as always, we're fast on Instagram at PTBelPod and on our YouTube channel at PTBel! And you can even catch our live stream, which is debuting this week, boys. So if you want to tune in, 8 p.m. PST on Thursdays, usually when we record. So be sure to check it out on the YouTube channel. As you can tell, if you're watching this here video, we are joined by none other than our boy Bobby Howell, attachment legend, saying founder, PFL founding father of the one of four Howell brothers who played Division One football, now is a financial tech consultant. The second official PFL podcast guest is Bobby Howell. What's up, man? How's it going? How you living?
Good, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. I do have to clarify one thing. I got to make it very clear. Segment is not my baby. That so I'm fortunate. I'm not a season, so there's multiple reasons why I simply really didn't pick my football team. But if season didn't exist, that caused more issues because sports are meant to break it up into state fights. But whatever. Some made up game during the so said game. Give a shout out to Highland Park on that one. 0% me. But yeah, a bunch of idiots. But sixes and sevens. You guys all know that. But I have no. I'm gang affiliated on that.
Dude, I remember being so embarrassed. I remember being so embarrassed in the parking lot high school because like over a 6 game, 7 game issue, there was like I was driving and like there's people on my hood of the car as I'm driving and like hanging out the window. And dude, Coach Denman sees and he's like, "Hey guys, what are we doing?" You know, and dude,
Hey,
we had to run
hey,
so many sprints
some
that
guys
day, and I was
can't
just like,
figure it out, man.
"Oh, yeah, exactly." I was like, dude, I wasn't even involved in this. Like, they're just fighting in my car on it. It was the worst.
Oh, love it. But yeah, man, that was some shenanigans that I tried my best to steer clear from. But I feel like Ty and I were both guilty by association
Definitely,
more
definitely,
than
just
anything.
yeah, bystanders for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, so for everyone listening here, anyone's listened to any of the hot seat episodes or any of our other guest episodes, we're kind of just gonna let Bobby take the reins here and kind of give us a general life timeline, and we're kind of just gonna cut in at specific points and notes we got written down and all kinds of stuff. So, Bobby, the floor is yours, baby.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about this probably more than needed today, just on like key things that I wanted to touch on, and I feel like the valuable things are kind of the lessons you learn along the way, less of I could go on. We could do a 3 hour podcast and just tell high school stories with you boys, but
Yeah.
as a little bit of background, I was fortunate enough to play high school ball with two of the three Currys. Was a little too old for the third, but yeah, man, just like these guys, born and raised in small town Tehachapi. Literally lived in the same house from birth till high school graduation. Grew up playing ball, just like again these guys. It was baseball and football all the way through. And once I realized that the baseball games weren't getting fans in high school, I decided let's just go football. Football's going to be the only one. And man, last night I was thinking about because I wanted to throw in some good Curry stories, and the the first one that came to mind was my I think second year of football, so I'm maybe 9 years old. So Ty's 8,
Yeah.
and I remember this kid showing up. It was his first year. Showing up, he's got the face mask with the line down the middle, like a true savage,
Of course.
and
Right
you
past
could
it.
tell he had come like either straight from school or he didn't go home and clean his hair out first because he had spikes,
Oh
like
yeah,
gelled
yeah, yeah.
spikes
Oh
to the
man.
sky,
Hey man,
like
the
straight
year
up.
was
Like
2004. You had to have the spikes.
no, it was hot. Don't get me wrong. The style was hot, but everybody else just went home and rinsed their hair out first. I would come to football practice with these spikes, and I
Yeah.
remember like not only thinking, "Damn, that's gonna like." this poor kid, because I'm a veteran at this point. I've played for a whole year and I'm 9 years old.
Right,
I'm
you know
thinking,
everything.
Dude, when this kid puts his helmet on, these spikes are gonna hurt. Like, they're gonna not only hurt your head when you put the helmet on, but then like an hour into practice, I see this kid, and you guys know how I play football. Like, no words, just pure like savageness. This kid probably like bleeding on the ridge of his nose like he always was, and I'm not kidding, like globs of hair gel dripping down his face, like in his eyes, just didn't care. Like, and to this day it kind of grosses me out, but that was the first image that popped in my head was Ty's hair gel just flowing down his like sweet little face. I mean, now I picture an 8-year-old. It was probably so cute, but at the time looked like a badass, man.
Yeah, bro. You know
But,
those helmets we were rocking back in the day were not the most comfiest to begin with, and then you get the hair gel mixed in there,
Dude.
and then like when you're 8 years old, getting that helmet off at the end of practice is a real big issue, and now you add the hair gel issue into that already. Not fun. So yeah, I actually think I went like 2 or 3 weeks before I learned that I should probably rinse my hair out before I start coming to practice. It was working out a little bit better after that. But now, dude, I haven't thought about that in such a long time, but that was a real issue in my life at one point.
I'll never forget that. that. But yeah, I mean, grew up playing ball with these guys. Football was, in Tashby, it wasn't as much. I'll meet, whether it was teammates at Portland State or it was just, guys I've met since, and they'll talk about like how they had like student sections. And I'm like, wait, you had guys in your student section? Like, yeah, we had like guys that played other sports. I'm like, well, guys played other sports at Tashby too, but they were still on the football team. Like, we didn't have like guys that rooted for us that weren't on the team. It was, there's a reason you have such a small school with 90 guys on the varsity roster. Like, even the guys that knew they were not going to see the field, you wanted to put that jersey on and wear it to school on Fridays, which is like, looking back now, like the coolest small town, like cliche thing ever, with our different traditions, whether it was like the buggy on homecoming or, just all the winning tradition, that we all got to experience, the coolest place to grow up. And, now that obviously I had a daughter 4 weeks ago, and it doesn't look like I'll be raising my kids in Tashby. And, there's pros and cons of both, but one thing, I do wish that I could have done is raise them in that type of environment, because there's so many little things that I appreciate now that you don't really think about until you're past it, and once you're kind of looking back on it. But yeah, attached me through and through. Love it till the day I die. My mom still owns a house I grew up in, so I'm able to make it back quite a bit. But post high school and including high school, got a championship with Big Man Curry. We came close a couple times after that, but yeah, man, that winning culture is, you don't realize how rare winning a CIF championship is until you go on and meet guys that didn't go to high schools that won CIF, and it's a pretty special thing.
Bobby, let me ask you this. Let me jump in right there. You're talking about like you don't know how special winning a CIF ring is, and I was actually talking about that on my hot seat episode, because I'm a freshman when my older brother Logan got a chip, and they're like talking about the ring ceremony and all that stuff. I'm like, dude, I can't get a ring. Like, I didn't do anything to deserve that ring. And then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, dude, I got 3 more cracks at it myself. Like, no way, I'm not gonna win a chip. Like, were you feeling the same way after watching your brothers and then that 2010 team as well? Like, no way we don't go back to back this next year, maybe even three-peat this thing.
Yeah, Ty, I think that you and I both, shit, Gary, you've probably felt it threefold, but I think we were not only incredibly spoiled with having to live up to a certain high bar, but we thought that was normal.
Yeah.
Like, I remember being in 8th grade, and so for those listening, watching that don't know, I have twin older brothers that are one class, one class, right?
Yeah,
Logan?
yeah. They were a year ahead of me.
1 year ahead of Logan. And so, and they won CIF as sophomores and juniors, and then almost to seniors. And so, coming into it, you're thinking like, well, this is just run of the mill. This is what Tehachapi does. So, Ty, I don't blame you for thinking that way. But when I was listening to that episode and you were saying you weren't going to grab a ring, I was like, I wanted to punch a wall. I'm like, dude, you get the ice when you can get the ice.
Yeah.
If you got the chance, you got it. Did you end up really not getting a ring?
No, definitely not. Like, I got pulled up for playoffs and I was in. So, like, I wasn't even on the team the full year. And, like, really the most memories I have of being on that team, even in the playoff run, was just being on the meat squad and getting the crap kicked out of me at practice every day and that kind of thing. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like I deserved
Yeah, but that's contributing, man. That's what you don't realize is like, because I went up for playoffs the year they ended up losing in the semis to Porterville, and I remember thinking like, and again, this is just my like weird. It probably was feeding into the same thing. You're thinking like, hey, I want to like, if I can justify if I contributed, that means that I deserve the ring when we ultimately get one.
Yeah.
And so I remember being on scout team, and I fumbled like every other snap. I was so nervous. Like literally, my 3-year older brother's playing middle linebacker, Mike, like right in front of me. And what, like I got to run waggle and not be scared of shit. So I was a mess that whole playoff process. But I remember thinking like, hey, if you boys pull this off, I'm getting me a ring.
Yeah.
I'm getting me a ring. Yeah, man, I think we were spoiled going into it, and you look back on the rosters that we had, we were very capable of doing it again, but you start to realize it's a massive combination of really good luck and really good rosters. My older brother's senior year, my freshman year, Logan, your junior year, my brother smashed his finger in the weight room. Mm-hmm. Couldn't play that Friday, so against Porterville, they miss out on their starting guard and their starting Mike. And all of a sudden, game changes. Yeah. So it takes so much to be able to do what Tehachapi's done.
Not even just their starting linebacker, like one of the only Division I football players we've ever had.
Yeah, and they had to find another long snapper. Right. Yeah, I didn't say long snapper.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good ball player, man. I feel so bad for him, right? Because when you have an impact on the game, and just because of a dumb, why was he lifting on a Wednesday playoff week anyways? Like, it was such a dumb thing to happen. Drew, if you're listening, dumbass. But, we've given him a hard enough time over the years. Jesse Olafson is so mean to Drew. Anytime it gets brought up, Jesse's like, yeah, I'd have 3 rings if it weren't for Drew's dumbass.
Dang.
But yeah, he'll never live that one down. But post high school was a freaking blast. Again, with playing football in town comes a certain level of a certain feeling of invincibility, I guess. Like, I feel like senior year, sure. I did what I wanted when I wanted. I left school when I wanted. It was a cool time. And then leaving high school, I had zero scholarships. I had worked really, really hard to try to get college interest over my time playing in high school, and just basically got nothing back. And I was a little discouraged. I was thinking about going to the junior college route until I believe it was actually around this time of the year. It was around March when offensive coordinator for Portland State reached out to me. He was also the quarterback coach. And he said, hey, I watched your film, which is, for Tehachapi as a quarterback, my film was like 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Right.
He said, I watched your film.
In there, nice.
He's like, every play was play action. So believe it or not, I'm like, yeah, I know. And he said, I chatted with your head coach. He had good things to say about you. So, we've got a few open walk-on spots if you want to walk on. And that's all I needed. I was like, you know what? I'll take it. At the time, my brother was playing at U of O. So he was in Eugene, only about an hour and a half south of Portland. So I figured my brother's up there. I could get up there, pay for a year of school, and hopefully get put on scholarship. And man, from day one, I treated it, I went into business mode. Like, I treated it like a straight up career from day one. I mean, I mentioned, kind of lessons that I've learned along the way. And, I told myself, and by me saying I told myself, meaning like somebody probably told me along the way, I'm guessing it was Coach Denman or, if you're the first one in the meeting room every day, you're the first one on the field for practice, you're the first one in the weight room, and you're the last one to leave all those places, like, only good things are going to happen.
Right.
So, from day one, when I got to Portland, I moved in June 21st, 2013. From day one, I was like 15 minutes early to every class. I was the first one in the team meeting rooms, first one in the weight room, last one to leave. Like, I treated it like it was a job interview every day, essentially. And I'll tell you what, it didn't work. I did not make my way up the depth chart a single spot. I started 4th on the depth chart beginning of the year. I redshirted, finished the season 4th on the depth chart. And I thought, okay, well, shit, maybe I'm just not that good. I'm just over 6 foot. I run maybe like a 4.8 40 training, like prepping. And, I kind of started to realize, maybe football isn't going to get the bills paid, at least the tuition paid. And I kind of came to that realization, and it was heartbreaking. Like, that sucked for, I went all the way through that first season. I told myself, I'm going to do spring ball. And if nothing changes through spring ball, I got to hit the road, because out-of-state tuition for Portland State, it's a state school. It's not a fantastic, you're not getting the world's greatest education,
Sure.
but it's $30,000 a year for out-of-state students. So here I am, $30,000 in student loan debt. My family, God bless my mom and dad, they just didn't have the resources to pay for my school. So here I am sitting as a 4th string quarterback, taking out student loans to pay for my tuition. Those student loans weren't paying my rent, so I was working security jobs at night, like going through the grind. And I'm like, man, like, I'm keeping the faith, but I'm running low. And finally I get through spring ball. I make the decision, I got to leave. I can't do a whole another year of this. So I go into my coach's office they do spring interviews, like to wrap up spring ball. They'll ask you, what do you think you could have done better? What are you looking forward to fall, blah, blah, blah. And Nigel Burton, who was our head coach at that time, now he's like a Pac-12 analyst. I actually really like him on TV. He's pretty entertaining. But I cut him off right in the beginning. I'm like, Coach, before we get into my interview, I just want to let you know that, and of course, me being the emotional, ball of tears I am, I start crying. I'm like, Coach, I'm leaving. I've loved it here. I love being a Vike. I love all my teammates, but financially, this just doesn't make sense for me, and I'm not moving up the depth chart. And he totally understood. He gave me all the compliments, all the normal shit you tell a walk-on kid who's like, all right, get him off the team because who gives a shit. Mm-hmm. So I leave his office. I basically go back to all my buddies. I'm living in a house with like 5 guys that I'm playing with, and I let them know that, I'll be find a new roommate because I'm out next month. Mm-hmm. And that night around 11 p.m., that same coach that gave me the walk-on opportunity texted me and said, he always calls me Meat. He's like, hey, Meat, come into my office tomorrow. We need to chat. And I'm thinking like, all right, well, it sounds like he wants me to tell him I'm leaving too. So, and this is Bruce Barnum, who's now the head coach at Portland State. I walk into his office. He's like, so you got something to tell me? And I kind of fill him in on the situation, why I'm leaving. And I'll never forget, he looks me straight in the eye and he tells me, my college nickname was Ricky Bobby. He says, Ricky Bobby, you're the worst quarterback I've ever had on my team.
Oh.
Just straight up. And okay. He's like, but
yeah, that's a weird way to start this meeting right now.
That's really weird. This guy is, I'm not kidding, ask anybody that's ever played for this guy, strangest human being you will ever meet in your life. Just complete oddball. But he says, you're the worst quarterback that's ever played for me. But you know the offense because you were here first every day for meetings. You learned the playbook. You know it front and back. He's like, I honestly just don't think you have the ability to run this offense at a Division I level.
Mm.
I'm like, you're not making me feel any better. Like, hey, you don't got to talk me out of leaving. I'm already leaving.
You're like, already,
You're like, hey, I
gone.
already quit, guys.
Yeah, like, hey, I'm out. Like, why don't get, just kicking the dead horse. And he's like, but he's like, I've been swamped around here. I have no, my staff is low. He said, I already got it approved by Coach Burton. If you want to hang the cleats up, we'll put you on full ride to be my offensive assistant.
Perfect.
So I had to give up this dream of playing football and getting a football scholarship to actually accomplish the goal, which was get a scholarship and get to stick around.
Because at this point, you're probably thinking, oh, I'm going to transfer somewhere else, or I can, I have options if I still want to play football.
Exactly. Football was not out of the question. I was going to go somewhere and continue to play, or at least try to continue to play. But I thought, if I go somewhere else and continue to play, am I playing because I love playing, or am I playing to still try to get my school paid for? And I realized at that point, I was playing to get my school paid for. And I had it right there on the table.
Right.
And, I told him, because I fucking mind blown, dude. Like, I couldn't breathe. I didn't know what to say. I was like, could I have, 12 hours to call my mom? I got to think about it. He's like, you're fine. He's like, take your time. I don't care. It's spring. It's not like we had a game tomorrow.
Right.
Shit. So I leave his office door. I'm not kidding. I take like 8 steps, and I'm like, what are you doing? What? I turn back around, and I'm like, I'm in. Yeah, where can I sign? Like, give me this right now. I don't care. Like, football was fun, but like I knew what the ultimate goal was. So, I mean, lesson out of that was, keep your goals very stringent, but your paths flexible. If your goal is to have a certain income or, live in a certain place, keep that goal, but how you get there doesn't really matter. Just figure it out, figure it out. You might have a way that you think you're going to get there, and God's just sitting there laughing, thinking like, oh, you have no idea what I have up my sleeve, So that was one lesson, dude. I think about it all the time. Like when things don't work out exactly how I think they're going to work out, I'm like, all right, I don't have to change the goal. I just know that the route that I'm going to have to take is probably going to have to change.
Right.
So big moment for me. And so, yeah.
Yeah, your playing days kind of wrapped up, and then you're an offensive assistant for the rest of your time at Portland State. How long did that last?
Yeah, rest of the time I was in school. So basically, the way the scholarship was lined out, I got everything paid for, and then I got basically a stipend that covered, because rent in Portland's expensive. And the stipend did not quite cover that. So while I was doing the offensive assistant thing, it took up a little bit less of my time than full playing because, I didn't have to go to lips anymore. I didn't have to go to film. I was basically breaking down game film. Game day, I had a lot of responsibilities from like signaling, and I had the headset on and all that stuff. But during the week, I had a lot of free time. So I'm like, hey, I could kind of get rolling on my career here through some type of internship. So that's when I started just consuming books. It started with me saying, hey, I want to make a lot of money one day. Where do I start? And so I literally Googled books on money.
Nice.
And, that led me to some key books that I started with in college. And, I just realized I have plenty of time to track down a company. I tell them, hey, I work for the football department. I'm also going to school, but any extra time I would love to, get something on my resume. And that's what kind of led me into finance. And what is it? 6-7 years later, still kind of on that same path, which is wild. I'm trying to think of, some of those key moments between then and now, but really I felt like it's kind of been a straight shot since then. It was doing an internship, staying with that company, getting sick of it, and moving on from there. And I could go into those details if you want, but I'm guessing you have a question or two, Ty.
No, not really, man. So, I mean, what's it like being on the sidelines now? You're still part of the team, but you're not playing anymore. Like, you feeling some type of way? Or are you still stoked in your new role? Like, you're out there signaling, you said, breaking down game film. You're still helping the team, but, like, it's different now. Like, how are you feeling about that?
Yeah. it was really different because I was in both player meetings and staff meetings.
Yeah.
So, but I'm also living my boys are the guys on the team. So I'm living with 4 or 5 guys on the team, and they know, hey, Bobby just came back from a staff meeting. He knows what practice looks like. He knows what conditioning we're doing today. And I did a good job of not being a rat, but I was heavily persuaded at times to give up, staff information. But you're right. It was a really weird dynamic because, like I said, in the moment that they offered it to me, I broke down to the logic of, hey, this makes sense. Let's do it. But that doesn't take away, the months and years after that of having to watch people come into the program. I'm watching them throw passes, miss passes, and I think I could have made that pass. I could have done that. You have those moments. You have those moments, but you also have the moments of you see a guy get a concussion. You see a guy tear his ACL. You see a guy so bought into football that he's got his blinders on, and ultimately he doesn't go to the NFL. And he's working a minuscule job now simply because he never had that breakthrough of football's not football can get you so far, and some guys it will take you really far. But dude, I was so blessed that I had to learn that somewhat early on. But no, it was weird. It was weird, man, for a really long time being on the sideline, and it took some time to get used to. There was also some weird dynamics with some other walk-ons on the team that, there's a couple guys that were playing on Saturdays and didn't get put on scholarship. Meanwhile, I never sniffed the field, and I'm getting my school paid for to just literally like with a headset on, I got my little.
Yeah, so they're definitely feeling some type of way about that.
$30,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, sorry, Chuck. And you're younger than a lot of those guys. You're in your second year. I mean, you're what? Maybe 19 or 20 at this point. And some of these guys, they're getting ready to graduate or they transferred in. So there's all these dudes. I mean, I'm sure it's not easy, man. And I mean, going into college is a whole culture shock as it is. I mean, just getting along with everybody. So now it's you've gone from being in the locker room to then being in a coaching spot. There's no way that was easy. You must have caught a ton of crap daily.
Well, the best part was I kept the same locker.
Oh no!
I'm in the middle of the locker room with I'm not kidding. You guys might have heard the name Patrick Onweswar. He was a linebacker for the Ravens for 5 years. Dude, his locker was two lockers next to mine. So he's 6'3", 235, playing safety, playing linebacker, total stud. And I'm putting on my polo for the day. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a tough day out there, huh? And he's 3 or 4 years older than me. He's got 2 kids he has to support. So yeah, it completely different dynamics. One thing that I think helped me out was that I didn't really change up once that offer kind of came in. I still, still be the first one there, still be the last one to leave. It was in different aspects at that point, but I do feel I did kind of what I needed to do to earn somewhat level of a respect throughout the team. There was 100% some guys that resented, the position that honestly I somewhat lucked into.
Right.
But shit, man, they weren't in the they weren't in the weight room before me. They weren't on the practice field when I was staying there. So it's one of those things where it is what it is, and I'm super pumped that it worked out for me. But there's definitely some of those situations.
Rob, I wanted to ask you this before we get too far away from it, but when I went off to school, I remember walking into the weight room for the first time, and the D linemen are just throwing around 405 on the bench press it's 135, and all of a sudden I realized man, I'm not at Tatry High School anymore. These are grown 23-year-old men out here. I'm not at the top of the food chain anymore. Do you have a particular moment in your mind where it's holy shit, man, I'm not at THS anymore. Like, this is a whole different ball game. Do you remember having that feeling at all getting to Portland State?
Oh, dude, day one. Yeah, because you kind of you somewhat know what you're walking into.
Mm-hmm.
Because that for me, the 3-4 weeks leading up to leaving for school, all I'm doing is like watching YouTube videos, trying to find film, trying to size up some of these guys, and yeah, man, day one, I realized what I walked into when they had the way at the time they've redone the facility since, but the way the weight rooms kind of set up is kind of like Tatchby's, just one big circle, and it starts with rack 1, rack 2, rack 3, all the way up to I think it was rack 12. Rack 1 being typically like the walk-on wide receivers. They're benching like let's say maybe 205, squatting like maybe 3 plates at the most.
Yeah.
And whatever the clean is. And I remember thinking like, okay, here we go.
Maybe I could get in with these guys.
Yeah, what rack am I about to be in? And dude, I'm not kidding. I remember the list got posted, and I'm like, rack 2, baby. Let's go. Rack 1. But on the flip side of that, like at Tashby, I remember actually started with you, like going back and forth trying to beat each other in max power cleans. And then Ty, you came in and started throwing up a couple plates on power. Like power cleans was like my one lift where I felt like I could lead the school. And both of you ended up. I think both of you ended up actually beating me by the time I left. But I get to Portland State and guys are like, all right, yeah, let's warm up, and they're warming up with the weight that I'm lifting. So like,
right,
yeah, man, you start to realize there's always somebody a lot better than you. It doesn't matter weights, athleticism. You see it in the business world. Like, I'm in sales now, so like, you think you're hot shit, you show up to you got hired by a new company. There's probably a guy, shitting on your numbers. So there's always a way to level up. And what it did, like all of a sudden, I realized, into Ashby, my maxes stayed somewhat the same all of senior year, and then all of a sudden, like, and again, no supplements involved. My freshman year, my maxes shot up, and it just shows you like the power of proximity. Like if you're lifting with guys that are way stronger than you, you're gonna get stronger, and it's something weird, man. Like it doesn't matter what whether it's a lift you're doing or just being around stronger people, you get stronger. So yeah, that was eye-opening for sure.
Well, I wanted to say this about the THS weight room. Like Denman would put like the workout up on the board or whatever, and you're supposed to follow it for the day. No one was doing that. We're really just trying to max out every day,
single day.
Every day.
Like
every
you're hitting
day.
Like 5 sets of one. There's no way you're getting any stronger doing any of that. You know what I mean? So yeah, like obviously you're gonna get a lot stronger when you actually like following a workout program and eating right and all that kind of stuff, and not just going for your max every single attempt.
Dude, I was eating 4 PB&Js at lunch, thinking that I'm gonna like somehow all of a sudden just blow up. And then hitting McDonald's on the way home after practice with Eric Rush. We drive through and get like 4 McChickens, 4 McDoubles.
There you go.
We're getting the calories, but like, just shitty food, man. You don't realize it when you're that young, but yeah, man, it was so much fun, dude. Those morning lifts, I remember guys would show up. So we had, summer lifts were 6:30.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it felt so early at the time.
Oh, dude.
And guys was. See, I loved those. I loved it because as soon as it was done, it's like, it's 7:30, 8 a.m. It's summer. The sun's out. Your lift is done. You feel great. And you got the whole, luckily, I know some guys had to go, they had jobs and stuff. I didn't have to have a job at that point. So I went home.
Yeah, I had summer school.
Whole day. Yeah, some guys had summer school. Some guys had summer school. But yeah, man, I had, the whole day to enjoy my summer. I loved it. You have a couple hungover mornings, but you power through.
Yeah. No, like for that, it's like definitely enjoyable because you're done at 7:30. You got the rest of the day, do whatever you want. But it's like, dude, I think it was more so just at that time you think 6:30 is early. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you haven't had a real job yet. Like you used to get into school at 7 or 7:30. like
Yeah, your
at
mom
that
wakes
time.
you up.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
at that time, it's like, oh, 6:30, like that's gonna be brutal. And like now as an adult, you're like, oh, that's actually not bad at all.
Yeah, exactly. But no, dude, the honestly the biggest eye opener I felt like the next level wasn't necessarily the weight room, it was the speed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt like in high school, and again, coming from a wing T offense, I could somewhat throw guys open. Disclaimer: half my career I was thrown to Corey Lane, so I had a little bit of a cop out for my junior year. I mean, if you watch my junior highlight tape, it's literally a Corey Lane highlight tape. So I was, that helped. But man, even at the Portland State level, so Division I, FCS, you're a guy is completely covered in man, and you're going to see guys throw the ball while this guy is locked up in man. And it's like, I have full faith that he's going to put his foot in the ground, come back at a 45-degree angle, to the left hash and be there.
Yeah. And
it takes some legit arm strength to get that done. And I don't have it. So, man, I threw more picks in that first season just running the scout team. It was such a bummer. But yeah, man, it just takes a separate level of ability that, I was very optimistic about. But the speed was wild.
Yeah. And I mean,
Rob, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and especially like as a quarterback, because I mean, when I went to college, I mean, I was just snapping, and even then I'm like, dude, I'm running downfield and I can't freaking get away from this dude's a D end, and like I should be able to, like, he's got like 30 pounds of me. I should be able to get past this dude, and you just can't, man.
He's on your hip.
And I notice it, and I'm snapping, and I'm not even having to make reads and call plays. I'm just having to throw the ball back, and like, dude, it's nuts. The first practice, man, I will just never forget it. Because I mean, I did like summer lifting and then went in, and it's a different world completely, And anyone listening that's about to get ready for college, good luck with all that, man. It's an adjustment for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, on the flip side though, a lot of the guys you're going to see, especially when you first get there. I mean, my freshman class was 25 guys. By the end of summer, we were already down to 20. Yeah. 5 guys had quit. Some kids are just mental soft serve ice cream, dude. Just some of the weakest, like, they got an offer out of high school because they went to a big school that, they churn kids out. The kid's a crazy athlete. Then you realize he's never left his mom's side. So when he gets to school, he's homesick. He's got a girlfriend back home that's cheating on him. He's got,
nice.
He thinks college is about fun. So he's like, what the hell? There's no party tonight, and it's a Tuesday night, and he's got to lift at 6:30. Like, some guys just can't get their priorities straight, and as wild it is, to say about a 17 or 18-year-old, those are the kids that ultimately don't make it. So it's such a weird mix of like, if you're mentally strong and you have your shit in order, you can make it.
Right.
Again, it's just, keep the same goal. Might have to maybe I have to switch positions. Maybe you have to, when you see that 6'4", 350-pound D end with a six-pack,
yeah.
Like, oh, we're two different types of humans.
Yeah.
We're not cut from the same cloth, but yeah, man, it can be done. It's just it's a lot of mental strength.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my question is, so out of all the dynamics, like there's so many little intricate little cliques and stuff. I mean, we've all been in football locker rooms and all that stuff. What is the most toxic? Is it the starting wide receivers in the corners? Who's doing the most jaw japping back and forth in the locker room?
I don't think it's position specific.
Okay.
The cliques are you'll start to notice that there's one guy says something like, "Man, like we only get one pair of cleats," and then another guy will try kind of chirp in like, yeah, bro, like my gloves have a hole in them. Like I can't get another pair of gloves. And you'll start to see like these little negativity pockets start. And the more you can focus on the fact that, damn, I got a free pair of cleats. I got a free pair of gloves. My locker has my name above it with my hometown. Like the more you can focus on the things that you have that make you super happy and not the shit that these negative clicks that start to happen, because every team has them. Whether, it doesn't matter the level. You're going to have the D3 guys that, that are seriously just there because they love the sport. There's still going to be the negative guys. So I think those are the clicks to avoid. Now, who talks the most shit? Corners.
Easy.
All day.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
100%.
EVs for sure.
Corners. All day long. They play the music the loudest, they dance the most, and they talk the most shit. That's all day long, man. All day long. Yeah. Second is going to be D linemen. D linemen are just corners that, are strong and big. Like they're cut from the same cloth. Was it Deion Sanders? He said, I want my quarterbacks coming from 2-parent households.
Yeah.
I want my D linemen coming from like single mom. Dude, such a cancelable quote to say, but so true. Like that could not be more spot on. I feel like every great D lineman I've ever played with, he's like, yeah, man, I got to make it for mama.
Yeah.
Like, not talking about his dad. But, yeah, Chacha, I hope that answers your question. Corners is the answer.
I mean, that's what I figured, but
Also, avoid the negativity, because every single team has those guys.
Absolutely.
Rob, I feel like we kind of just skipped right over your high school career a little bit too quick, so I wanted to go back to the high school days. We're not going to spend too much time on it because I don't want to be too much glory days talk, okay? But I do want to tell a story first, and I want to know if you remember this one. So we're in the weight room. It's like one of the first days of summer lift, and we're breaking down how we're going to run waggle, right? And so Coach Dimon is up on the whiteboard. He's drawing it up, and he goes, all right, Hal, you're going to fake here, and you're going to roll out, and what's the first thing we do on waggle? And Cody Hall from the back of the room goes, throw it to Corey. And bro, we're all just on the floor dying laughing. And like, cause you're like trying to be serious, like be the quarterback guy, like draw it up all perfect. And Cody just being Cody. Just hit him with the throw to Corey.
Hey, and in Cody's defense, Corey played X in the first read. If X is over, I gotta go. And Coach Denman always said, I'll never forget he said this, if there's only 2 guys on Corey, throw it to Corey.
There's no way.
Dude, Corey
he said, I was like, Coach, Coach, the safety flew to it and the corner was on his hip. He's like, the safety won't get there in time, and Lang will get up and throw it. He's like, just throw it.
Dude. Yeah, Corey really was like that.
You don't understand? I could put Skag then. Skags can figure it out.
Yeah.
Corey, goddamn.
All right, Rob.
But yes, I 100% remember that. I definitely, buried that in my memories. But no, man, Corey padded my stats quite a bit. It helped me out. For sure.
Now, the other one I wanted you to walk me through was, it's kind of like one of those movies, right? Where it's some crazy scene and then the record scratch and it's like, oh, I bet you want to know how I got here. Like, let me tell the story how I got here.
Yep. I already know it. Yep.
You already know where it's going?
I know. Yeah, 100%.
Can you just tell the story?
Up, man.
Yeah, you tell your story from your perspective, then I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Man, what an unfortunate night that was for Tashby football.
Oh,
that night, I ended up being sacked 12 times. I had 12 pass attempts total in the previous 4 games. So, we're kind of coming from behind. They had pretty much figured out our run game at that point. And again, I'm not putting this on the offensive line. Garces just totally out-schemed us. They had a stacked team, and they were zoned in. But
yeah, screw them though.
I would love to throw the F word out right now on Garces. I thought the pain would go away over time, but dude, I hate that school more now than I think I ever have.
Same.
But man, I thought it was just going to be another sack, and the guy bear hugs me, and kind of I think he was trying to whip me down, but kind of like gave me a big twirl where my feet
like a hip throw, yeah.
kind of came off the ground, and before he could finish, another D lineman swooped in and grabbed my leg. So before I know it, I'm literally. I mean, you can see in the number. I think Scarborough was 67. The defensive or the offensive tackle in that photo, 6'7", maybe 6'8", and you can see I'm above his head. So I'm about 7 feet in the air. And
you were crowd
they're running
at that point.
They're running me backwards.
Yeah.
And so I had the ball tucked. So I'm afraid of fumbling, but it got to the point it was so ridiculous. I'm like, all right, forward progress to stop. This play should be over. And that's when I look at the ref and I do this, like, why aren't you blowing the whistle? This play is over. And I'm not kidding. I'll never forget. Right when I do this, I see a flash. I remember thinking, someone just got a photo of that, and that's going to be documented. Next morning, fucking 7 a.m., Bakersfield, California, front page, Garces defeats Ashby, and I'm doing this with the ball. Like,
Jeez.
So embarrassing.
Dude, was brutal. It was brutal. I felt bad. Like, dude, that was no other word to describe it besides brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, after such a crushing loss to have that, yeah, then they just drop you. Yeah.
That's right.
That was embarrassing, man. That was a bummer.
Do you still have a copy of that picture, Bobby?
I don't have to. You just Google Bobby Howell. It's the first one that fucking shows up.
Perfect.
It's ridiculous. I can't escape.
That sucks.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, man. It was such a bummer. My mom, like, they had to like hold her back from running on the field. She was like trying to fight the ref, and I mean, she probably just got sick of seeing me on the ground regardless. I think that was like sack 8. And so I ended up getting sacked, 4 more times after that. But, dude, but talk about like the funnest battles were those big games. Unfortunately, we came out, on the bad end of our time together. Logan, we got their asses in the playoffs, which was super fun. And Josh, I know you guys pulled it out. Congratulations! I never got to hold that OLB trophy, unfortunately. I mean, shoot, Logan, even when we beat them, it was in the playoffs. It wasn't the regular season, so we didn't get the trophy in that game either.
Didn't even matter.
Didn't even matter.
Yeah, that's true. I'll take the ring. I'll take the ring.
All right, Rob. The other question I had for you was this. Have you ever done more cardio than you did the day when 2 lovely individuals decided to fight on a Thursday at practice before we played Shafter?
Before Shafter. We both missed.
Have you ever gotten a better cardio session than that in your whole life?
Since then, I think I have. I've become a big Stairmaster guy in my retired years. But I'll tell you what, that was because it was. I don't know if you remember what officially set Denman off, but the fight started.
Yeah.
He ended practice. We all got on a knee, and then Kyle farted. Kyle farted and then laughed, and Denman was just like beyond.
Yeah. He couldn't take it. He couldn't take it.
He's like, Gathers. So, dude, that was miserable on a Thursday. And that also just kind of shows you how confident Denman was in winning that game.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't care if half of you pull a groin. We're going to win. But you're going to learn your lesson today. Who was it? It was, I know it was David Lara. Or was it Kiefer?
I feel like it was, who was the kid with the knee braces? You know what I'm talking about? He split his head open in a weight room that one day.
Whoa.
What?
Ginger kid. I can't remember names. But remember this. I remember.
I do. During a 6-7 game fight, he got shoved and Garber shoved him and he cracked his head open. I don't remember his name.
Dude.
Yeah, I don't remember his name. But okay, I'll tell you this. I remember Coach Dimon being like.
By the way, if he's watching right now, we just got added to his like kill list.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we're all on it now.
Yeah.
But I remember this, like, Coach Dimon's like, all right, everyone on the line, we're running gassers. And then an aw shit comes out of the back of, like, someone's like, aw shit. And Coach Dimon just looks at him, aw shit is right. And I was like, oh, fuck. Here we go. And I remember I was like, I'm hustling at the beginning. And then towards the end, I see you, which, no offense, but you're not known to be the fastest man on the planet. And you just stepping up with me. I'm like, boy, I've been running for a long time, and Rob is keeping up with me right now.
I was more of a hold the pace, so
Yeah.
I'm never in the back. I'm never in the front, but I'm never in the back.
I know. I was down bad at that point.
Dude, yeah, and that was the most we had ever done, for sure, on a Thursday before a game. But actually, that was, I mean, not to, again, bring up the glory days, but that was I had the most passing yards of all time, my all-time. Coach pulled me at half. I was shooting for the record, but didn't quite get there after getting pulled. Shout out again, Corey Lang and Cody Hall on that one. He had a couple of big catches.
How many did you throw for that game, Bobby?
178.
Dang.
And I was only like 100 from the school record.
Hey, for a Tehachapi quarterback, man, 178, you were slanging that thing, dude.
7 for 7 too, no incompletion. We were just on, man.
Yeah.
Wow, I haven't talked high school football in some time. You got to remember, I hang out with guys that, the Cody Tims of the world who couldn't even make it to Game 5, So I don't get to reminisce about this stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting because we have all of our points of view of kind of how it went for us, but I mean, coming from someone that starting quarterback, I mean, and having the family history with the program that you do, it's just really interesting to hear it from a different point of view and see things that we didn't catch before. Just like we haven't talked about the infamous Garces lift up probably since it happened. So
yeah. And there's so many of those big, those big little moments too.
Yeah.
I feel like every season had their the Michael Louder interception spin on his head to end the season.
Sure.
Man, so many of those cool moments that you kind of forget about until someone else brings them up. And you're like, oh shit, that was a big moment. That was a big moment.
Yeah.
But
so
no, the Currys, go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and I was actually talking to Ryan Flick about this, because Ryan Flick might be the biggest Ty Curry fan that I've ever met in my life. The guy is just a true Ty Curry believer. And I always felt like my dad wanted me to play football the way that Ty Curry played football. The guy that didn't talk, the guy that just showed up, got shit done, played both ways, mean, angry runner, would fuck you up if he had the chance. And then he gets this quarterback that hands the ball off 90% of the time, But I'm not kidding. And Ryan and my dad both be like, man, Ty, that guy, you guys need to give him the ball more. He's an angry runner. He's an angry runner.
Yeah.
And then we get to wake up and go to games on Saturdays and watch Chach with just the most glorious gut, just as a 10-year-old. I've never seen a kid just that fast when his gut stuck out further than his pecs. And that is glorious. And the way you'd walk back to the huddle too, just so exhausted.
That's a lot of rotational mass.
It was so much fun to watch. Oh man, it was so much fun to watch.
Rob, you had kind of mentioned dude, in high school is almost a feeling of invincibility, right? And I feel like we all definitely felt that, especially our senior year. But I feel like even maybe more so for you, with all that your brothers in general accomplished during their time at THS, plus with Drew going to U of O. I told the story on a previous podcast, you're literally auctioning off pieces of equipment from U of O to us. I feel like maybe that even heightened your sense of celebrity at THS. Did you feel like that at all?
I was so afraid because when I got to high school my freshman year, I obviously no seniors messed with me because I'd been hanging out with that group the whole summer going into high school. And I felt I think I did feel like that. And then I got a D in algebra and I got a C in, some English class. And I remember going, Drew took his official visit to U of O. And I remember sitting in on they had 5 or 6 recruits there at the time. and they were talking about grades and how important, how they look at academics. And they're like, oh yeah, like a D on, in algebra, like not a chance. Like I don't care how many yards you throw for, we won't look at you.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember having a straight up panic attack of like, I'm not taking this shit seriously enough. Like this is, they look at your freshman year transcripts.
Right.
So, after that trip, something kind of flicked in my head of, you might be, again, because, the football side of things will probably take care of itself. But if you're not staying out of trouble and getting your grades straight, you're not going to go anywhere. Like you won't even have a walk-on opportunity. Because, and again, folks listening, I 0% endorse this, but I was exposed to alcohol very early on.
Yep.
And man, do I love drinking cold beer. Like I've loved
There's nothing
beer
like it.
Yeah.
from a very young age. And, we had a couple guys on our team that got caught up in a drinking situation. And in my opinion, the administration made an example of them, kicked them off the team, and that scared me as well. So I felt like as much as I could have kind of been, I don't know, tried to be that guy, I was so scared of getting in trouble that, you probably remember me sending texts out like during the week to guys like, you're not drinking tonight, are you? Like, hey, Where are you at? Who are you with? Like I was checking on guys during the week, during the season, because I was so scared of my season getting ruined and me not being able to go somewhere and play. So I almost felt like I kind of had somewhat blinders on during that time, that I probably could have got away with a lot more than I did. But I ended up, I got the good grades. I tried to stay between the lines and, I drank some beers in the off season in a safe environment. I never went to parties or got too wild on that front, but, yeah, man, I look back now and I could have got away with a lot more, but I'm glad I didn't because it all kind of led to, where I am now.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
but I still love drinking beer.
Right. Yeah. Disclaimer.
Like I said, there's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
It's the best, man. It's the best.
So, Bobby, I guess we'll kind of move into a little bit more current stuff. Actually, no. Let's touch on one more thing. Who's the founder of the PFL? Because
I came up with PFL.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the actual acronym.
Uh-huh.
But I feel like PFL's been going on forever, right? Like, you go play a pickup game after school. But yeah, I feel like it became somewhat official during high school. But if there were like a trademark on the acronym,
I was just about to say I thought you might have been the original founder of our PFL, which for those of you that played in the PFL with us, if you know, you know. Yeah, I just remember it was fun too because I'd like just graduated. I was kind of still thinking I wanted to play football and stuff, and you guys were just going at it, man. Like there were days, those
games were.
There were times where I was like, man, like I haven't even like seen that kind of stuff in a game before, and you guys were here, no pads, freaking doing the dang thing.
It was full contact if your last name was Garber.
Yeah. Also that.
Yeah, we had to put the reins on at a certain point.
Yeah.
Once guys actually started getting hurt, we're like, all right, guys, let's make this like maybe like a thud.
Yeah.
Like, wrap up but not bring to the ground. And then once we were in our 20s and we'd come back from school, it's like, hey, 2-hand touch, and we'll still be lucky if we escape with no pulled hamstrings,
Oh, dude, yeah.
But yeah.
PFL, good times. So, Bobby, you kind of touched on it before. You went into an internship while you were still coaching, and that kind of got you into the world of finance. And that's kind of where it started. So, how long did you do that internship for before you kind of got hired on? In like a full-time capacity, like with that first company you were with.
Yeah, I started my junior year in college, and I knew, the stock market always interests me, and again, I knew I wanted to make good money, so I started looking into avenues that could kind of create that, and finance is kind of tough because you can't just, as a 19-year-old kid say, hey, I'm going to start my own investment firm. just doesn't happen. So you kind of have to work through some of these like larger, what they call like broker dealers or registered investment advisory firms, RAAs, and those are kind of the two paths. And I started as an intern with a really large broker dealer, Mass Mutual, also an insurance company. So basically I was selling life insurance and, kind of opening retirement accounts for people up until I could kind of call myself a financial advisor, which is, once you're properly licensed, Series 7, Series 66, things like that. And as time went on, I did that. I interned for 2 years, went full-time for 4 years. And I started to realize, like, man, I don't love this anymore. And it was the first time I had had that feeling since football.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, I told myself this is what I was going to do. I've worked hard at it. I've got these licenses. I've built up somewhat of a book of a business. So I feel like quitting now would be stupid. And then I take a step back and I'm like, dude, you're 20 at the time. You're 25 years old. Like, stop thinking your body. If you hate something, you're not about to do this for the next however many years of your life. Mm-hmm. But one thing I did enjoy was the human aspect, the sales side. I really did enjoy having conversations on a daily basis. So I knew sales in some capacity was going to be a fit for me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, after 6 years in one industry, working my ass off to get these licenses, paying a bunch of money to get these licenses, now having a mortgage and a wife, I'm like, no, you know what? I'm making a shift. And I didn't completely shift out of finance. So basically the little move I made was these financial firms have a lot of different technologies they use. They call them, it's their tech stack. So you have to have like a portfolio management system, a CRM, a financial planning software, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Well, one of the softwares that we used, I really liked. I was like, damn, this thing front to back, it works really well. It's modern. It's cool. I'm sick of being an advisor. I want to sell this software. So one day I had a bad day. I was sick of it. And I go to this software's website. They have a contact us button. I click it. I write them an email. Hey, I've been using your software it was one of the CRMs that, again, we'd been using for probably 2 or 3 years at that point. Write them an email. I love your software, and I feel like I could sell it pretty well if, you guys are looking for some type of, software consultant, somebody to come in and actually sell this product to advisors, because I'm an advisor. Mm-hmm. They called me 15 minutes later, and they're like, hey, we just got your email. We actually are hiring. Do you want an interview? And one thing I told myself was, because, again, Emily and I had kind of started talking about starting a family, and this whole remote work idea that came about from COVID, mm-hmm. I fell in love with, because I just started doing the math of like, hey, if I have to commute an hour, that's 2 hours a day. You compound that, over the next 20, 30 years, that's a lot of time that I'm going to sit in my car. I just don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. And if they're offering these remote opportunities, my family can live anywhere. I can work from anywhere. Which I kind of fell in love with. I think the freedom of that model is a beautiful thing. So luckily this company it's based out of Manhattan. So the pay was Manhattan based. The hours were East Coast based, and I'm a morning person. So like, it was like, I'm just like checking these boxes. Perfect. I still get to work in finance. And, I essentially work technically out of Manhattan. So I work with East Coast based financial planning firms, 100% remote. So like,
perfect.
I'm in my office right now. Technically, I don't know if I can let's pop this puppy off and I got my whole situation going on here.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, like I work here, and it's cool, man. It's been a wild journey. Like I said, kind of giving up that dream that I had, but I realized it wasn't my actual dream. The goal was more important than the actual process that I was going through.
Nice. Yeah, it's the work from home thing, man. Nothing really beats it. I was fortunate enough, I spend about, I would say, 80 to 90% of my time working from home, and it's great if you can do it and if you can pull it off, and I mean, even though we live 5 minutes away from the office, it does make a big difference, and especially with me and like just kind of my productivity level. I mean, I'm sure you feel that too. Just kind of being in your own space where you're comfortable, not have to have people walking into your office every 5 minutes bugging you about stuff. So
Yeah. And one thing I think I would recommend to people is if it sounds like something that you would absolutely hate, man, but you still hate your job, don't be afraid of it, because I am like 100% a people person. I need to interact with people. You still get that same human interaction, doing it over, Zoom or Teams or, whatever it is.
right.
And you save so much time not having to go anywhere. It's huge.
Yeah, so you kind of talked about career-wise where you're at. Man, you're married. Walk us through how you
Yeah.
met your now wife. Tell us the story, man. We want to get the details on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually met her at that original firm that I had the internship at. So at the time, I had been there for 3 years, and I was kind of running our training program. And she had gotten hired. She was an All-American basketball player at University of Puget Sound up in Tacoma, Washington.
Okay.
And so she graduated. She's a year older than me. Graduated, come back. She's from Portland, so came back and was living at home. And got hired by my firm, and was kind of going through our training program. And it's tough, man. When I totally understand the guys that are like, hey, there's this girl at work that I want to talk to, but I don't want to cross the line because I don't want to get in trouble.
Sure.
And, finance, especially finance being like a 98%, male dominated industry.
Yeah.
I kind of backed off for a really long time. But luckily, we were both obviously being around the same age. She wanted to be social, and so our company did these social events, and we would just kind of be in these group settings. And after a while, got her number and slow played it, and finally we had a date. We went to a Portland Trailblazers game.
Perfect.
She's a big Blazers fan. I could give a shit about basketball. She liked it. I was in, and man, from there it was just from very early on, our ultimate visions kind of aligned. Not only did we obviously get along, and she's gorgeous, and I enjoy being around her, which are very kind of base level relationship things. But I think that what I love most about her was that even when we were 20, I was 22, she was 23. We had the same vision for what kind of house do we want to live in? What kind of neighborhood do we want to live in? Having net worth conversations and vacation conversations of, 10, 20 years down the road, and then actually doing having the conversations of the discipline you have to get there. Having those conversations in your 20s is huge, because that keeps you from taking out the $60,000 car loan, or these decisions that you make in your early 20s that could ultimately kind of throw you off long term. We kind of keep each other in check, and by that I mean she kept me in check because I like to spend money, and she was like, hey, we have a goal here. So I think that was, for me, the most attractive thing, which is hey, we're on the same page. So yeah, man, we dated for 3 years, bought a house together in 2018. Before we got engaged, went a little out of order on that one, but we moved in together here in 2018. I proposed early 2020, got married in 2021, and then she just gave birth to the newest love of my life, Ella, in late February. So
which congratulations,
man,
by the way, man. There's nothing else.
Thank you.
There's nothing else like being a parent, and so congrats on that. How's it?
Yeah.
You're 4 weeks in. How's it treating you so far?
Keep up with the Currys. You guys are turning them out like it's freaking nothing, man. I'm trying to keep up, but no, I appreciate it, man. It's the greatest thing. It's wild. It's wild, but that's the kind of the short of it. And she's still working. She's in finance as well. She's not still with the same company. She's with another investment firm here in Portland. she gets 16 weeks of maternity leave, which is pretty sweet.
Wow,
So
that's awesome.
she's chilling,
Jeez.
catching up on all the Love is Blind bullshit and all those whatever shows they have on Netflix nowadays. But
yeah, crazy.
Yeah, man. So what's it been like these last 4 weeks, man? Like, late nights, early mornings. Like, who's waking up in the middle of the night? Are you splitting duty? How's that going?
Yeah, she. So we're doing the breastfeeding adventure. So Emily is, graceful enough to accept that I can't really do much in the middle of the night. So she gets up and does the feeding during the night so I can get some sleep. And again, like I mentioned, I work East Coast hours, so I'm on from about 5:30 to around 1 or 2 every day. But then I'm done. So I'm pretty much on full dad mode. I built out the home gym, so I don't have to drive to the gym anymore.
There you
So
go.
as soon as I wrap up every day,
Perfect.
hit the home gym, and after that I'm on dad mode. So she's been great. She takes care of pretty much everything from when we go to bed to when I get off. But again, beauty of working from home is if I have an hour gap in my day, I can head downstairs. We do a little tummy time nap.
Right.
It's pretty sweet. And then those are other things you don't get if you're heading into an office or at work every day. So super grateful for that.
Yeah, that's go ahead, Josh. You're good.
No, I was just gonna say, you have such a expensive knowledge in the finance world and real world issues. You deal with real people every day who are looking for something out of you, basically. And so my question to you is, what is one thing that you would like to see administrators implement into high school classes that you think would benefit our youth?
This is a good one.
Yeah, what are they not teaching us?
Yeah,
man?
Bobby, tell the people.
I think there's a couple really key things that just some really broad basics. Everybody should know what a 401k is. They make it sound, just by naming it 401k, it sounds complicated. 401k is the tax code that explains the account. So 401k is a retirement account that is sponsored by an employer where you can contribute money to it. And within that 401k, the funniest thing I hear, and I'm not going to make this political, and Josh, I swear I'll bring this full circle to answer your question, but you'll see these individuals on social media say how anti-corporation they are, how Tesla's evil, Amazon is so evil. These massive companies are doing these terrible things, and they don't know that in their 401k they own like 50 grand of Tesla stock, or they own 50 grand of Amazon stock. Like, hey, you're a shareholder. Like, if people understood the securities that they owned, because again, when you put money into your 401k, that's being invested in most likely low cost mutual funds, some type of ETF, and within those are these major companies. So we all own these companies. So people don't understand how that works. So number one, I would say understand, the basics of what's a 401k, what's a Roth IRA, what's a traditional IRA, like these very basic retirement accounts that everybody should have started at the age of 18. That's, I would say, number one. Number two, credit.
True.
Credit is
massive.
Everything. I think, and you guys probably heard of Dave Ramsey.
Of course.
I love him and I hate him. He doesn't believe in credit at all. He says if you have a 0 credit score, it doesn't matter, because he doesn't believe in debt at all. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that if you can be disciplined and get a really low interest rate on certain things, then making purchases is not a bad decision. I don't think you should sell your house if you have a 3% mortgage, or I'm sorry, pay off your mortgage when you have 3% with money you have invested in the market where you're earning potentially 6 to 12%. Mathematically, that doesn't make sense. But he's just so anti-debt that I think he throws a lot of people off. But I think understanding the basis of credit, of, hey, a credit card, that's not your money. It's the bank saying, let me test you to see how good you are with your money. So basics of retirement accounts, credit, And then you'd be amazed at people in their 40s where you say, hey, what is compound interest? And they don't know, which is super scary. And to define compound interest is a little hairy, but to show somebody where, hey, if you earn 5% on your money over the next 30 years compared to 0%, which is like putting it under your mattress. I don't trust banks. I don't trust the stock market. Like those type of people. If you just show them what compound interest is, it kind of makes sense. Like becoming a millionaire. I'm sorry. Here, don't move. I'm pulling up a compound interest calculator here. Give me 1 second. So,
no, it's crazy. We actually just had a meeting at work like the other day, and it was about 457s, and like they had this cool little chart where it was like, dude, if you put even just a little bit of money away into this account every month, if you do that for 20 years, like, dog, you're a millionaire when you retire, like straight up, So
yeah.
I think
so
that's what you're talking about with the compound interest.
That's exactly what it is. Let's say you have 0 in your, and it's going to look good for Chach because he's new. Chach, you're 22?
Yep.
Okay. You're 22 years old and you want to retire at 52. So you got 30 years.
Right.
You're going to save $300 a month. You're going to cut out a couple restaurant trips. You're going to save $300 a month, and you're starting with 0. You're going to put that in the market into one of these mutual funds I talked about, something that's broad. You're going to get the Amazons, the Teslas, the Nikes, the big companies that aren't going anywhere. Statistics have shown since the start of the stock market, it's going to give you somewhere between an 8 and 11% rate of return on your money every year. So if you have $1,000 invested, you're going to earn $80. So I'm going to give you an 8% earning. You're going to put $300 away a month, so $3,600 a year for 30 years. You have $500,000. And that's $300 a month. If you want to like max out a Roth IRA, you're looking at, let's say it's about $500 a month, so $6,000. Again, for the next 30 years, and let's say you get a 10%, market does a little bit better, you're over $1 million. You're a millionaire.
Yeah.
By saving like $500 a month. So it's easier than people want to make it out to be. But a lot of people just don't trust the stock market, which is fine. Live on your income forever and never get rich. But that's a problem. People have those opinions because we're not taught that at a super young age. And I think that's where a lot of big improvements could be made. We got to learn about what a parallelogram is. And we need to learn about, I don't remember.
Hey, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And you got to figure out the slope of the line. And like some people actually do use that though. Like I know people that went on to be engineers and everything like that. But like what you're talking about, literally everyone should be.
It's what everybody needs.
Yeah.
And then some people need to learn the basis of taxes. Most people don't need to worry about it because it comes out of the paycheck. But like if you're a 1099 employee, like I was for a bit, your paycheck comes and you're like, oh, you get a $5,000 paycheck. You're like, I got $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
You don't realize at the end of the year that Uncle Sam comes knocking and he's like, hey, remember that $5,000 check I gave you? I'm going to need $2,000 of that back.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it in cash to pay, you get in a little bit of tax trouble. Luckily, I got on that very early and I learned that very early. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people, you'd be amazed at some of the tax trouble that some, especially business owners. Because again, you start a business, it starts doing well, you don't realize you need to pay your quarterlies. So there's a lot, man. There's a lot of things that I, in my opinion, that maybe our education system isn't necessarily doing perfect, but
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I can really only think of, and this is just our school district, but the only math class in high school you go through is business math. And that was just viewed as the class that you go to when you fail algebra or geometry or whatever class you were in. And out of all the math classes that I took, I'm like, I feel like most of the productive stuff that like I still use like came from that class, and it's not even a requirement.
Yes.
You don't even have to take that class.
Exactly.
It's just where all the degenerates go.
Yes. Yeah, but you have to take algebra 2.
Right.
Which, oh my gosh. Shout out Mr. Kimbrough, sweetheart, but I don't know how he was saying half the time, So. Yeah, that's where I would put it is those 3 categories. So yeah. If you're listening, look those 3 things up. It's worth your time, I promise.
Bobby, you've been living in Portland for quite a while now. Like, what are some of the things that you love about that city? And then, like, I want you to do a little compare and contrast with Tehachapi and Portland, man. Like, what are some of the
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
things you love about Portland? Like, what are some of the key differences between there and here?
that's a good point. Or good point, good question. If if I had to pick out what I like about here compared to Tehachapi, it's very green. I love the access to water. So one thing that always made me a little bit mad about Tehachapi is like, oh, you want to swim in water, you go to someone that has a pool, or you risk getting cancer in Four Island Lake. Like those are your water options.
Yeah.
Like there's no like there's literally no ability for you to like you and your boys to like throw a kayak on the back of the truck and like go, or paddleboard in a river somewhere. Like Portland, you cannot beat the rivers. We're an hour from the ocean. Like there's a ton of water, and I'm a water guy. Like there's Lake Oswego just down the street too. So there's a ton of accessible water, which I think is a big point for me. One thing about Tehachapi is the traditional values that are not here, unfortunately. I mean, I don't think we ever locked our doors in Tehachapi. I mean, granted, we had like that gate in the front that kind of deterred a little bit, but I felt like if someone wanted to break into our house, they could have, and nobody ever did.
Yeah.
And I think that just goes back to kind of the good soul that Tehachapi has, and that sense of community, which definitely doesn't exist here. I'm close with my neighbors, but it's not like Tehachapi where my mom's house is within 3 blocks. There's 2 of our cousins. There's people I went to high school with. There's like a really true like deep community there, which you're not going to get here. It's not the same, and that just comes with the population in this area. Tehachapi's, you don't realize how isolated it is until you leave. You come here and like the city of Portland has like 20 high schools. Tehachapi has 1. Portland has 100 times the people, but again, it's that community feel that I definitely miss. But I miss the sunshine a little bit as well. The weather is definitely a little bit better down there. Not as much wind up here, but I would say sense of community that Tehachapi has is hard to beat. And I used to say, oh, there's just more money to be made in bigger cities, but now, again, like I said, with this remote working situation, you can make however much money you want and live in Tehachapi. So there really is no, in my opinion, no money boundaries like there used to be, which I think opens a ton of opportunity for the city itself. I would be shocked if the Tehachapi booster program doesn't really start to take off with the ability of like money being able to move in, because think about it, you can buy a 2,500 square foot house on half an acre for $500,000 in Tehachapi right now, right?
Yeah.
That's a spanking good deal, especially to be in in Southern California with a good school district, with like I said, a good community, good weather. So I have a feeling more money will move into Tehachapi over time, which I think is going to be really good for sports, for the academics, for the community as a whole. So I think it's really exciting what remote work has done, because I think Tehachapi could very well become kind of a hotspot for that, which is super exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head, man. Back in 2020 and 2021, when the housing market's just going crazy and interest rates are super low, that's exactly what was happening. People were moving here. They had remote jobs from, San Francisco, LA, surrounding areas, whatever it was. And like, so I'm trying to look for a house as well. I'm putting offers in, and like, luckily I have family that's in real estate, and they're letting me know, like, hey, dog, I'm just letting you know, you're not going to get the house with that first time home buyer's loan. This guy's coming in. He's got $200,000 in equity. Like,
yeah.
So
we just got a cash offer on that.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, on this house, really? And so, anyways, definitely already happening, man. Word is out. Like, not the best kept secret anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, still, man, so exciting for the town's growth. Like I said, if situations were perfect, I would. I'd love to go back. It's a great place to raise kids. I mean, how many places have people catching up like we're doing right now, literally 10 years later, that, those experiences mean so much and they're so impactful on like who you ultimately end up becoming. So, who knows what the future holds, but I'm also not a big fan of California's tax situation. So I don't know if that'll work out either, but that's, we could have another hour and a half on that alone.
They're getting their share. That's for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
They always do.
Yeah, but if you're ever interested, though, we do have a Chipotle now, so I don't know how high you are on Chipotle, but
with a drive-through, huh?
With the drive-through, you don't even got to get out of your car, man.
Man, you guys, you spoiled bastards.
You see what I mean?
you spoiled bastards, man.
Yep.
Oh Bobby, tell these boys about back in your day. You didn't have no drive-through Chipotle,
Man, we were
had to go to Stockdale Drive.
Yeah, you wanted, and then by the time you got there, In-N-Out sounded better.
Right.
So you didn't go to No, what we had was you finish football practice, you go to the McDonald's parking lot, and 9 out of 10 guys had an entire can of Copenhagen in their lip, and that's just where they could chew without being judged.
Yeah.
That's what it was. That's all it was. I'm not going to mention any names.
Oh, no, we would never.
Yeah. God, man, some of those lippers that got to throw in, it makes me gag to this day, dude. I cannot. It was never my thing, and
it's the weirdest thing.
Horseshoe it, you do like the I'm sorry.
It's the weirdest thing because like in Tehachapi is so commonplace. Like, I mean, I was chewing when I was 15 years old. Like, it wasn't no thing, And then like once you leave the area, like it's so uncommon to
disgusting.
See.
Yeah,
you're like
you're gross.
And you're like, how do you mean? Like,
shut up, you're gross.
Like, ain't nothing. But and then also like no one ever smoked cigs in high school.
No.
Like that was never a thing. It was always Copenhagen.
No.
And you leave and other people smoking cigs. You're like, bro, that's disgusting. So it's just kind of interesting. I don't know why it was like that, but it was. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember that like there was no outside influence. So
it
was literally like whatever like 4 or 5 kids decided to do, that had a ripple effect on on so many people around them that nobody like I guarantee you show up senior year like post morning weight room sesh and you head out to your car and you just start ripping a dart. Like, it's no big deal. Like by the end of the school year, you'd see like freshmen girls, like in the back of the parking lot, just ripping darts. I guarantee it, man. I guarantee it.
The old butterfly effect. I like it. Yeah.
You know it would happen, man. They'd be like, "Oh my God, Ty Curry smoking a cigarette." Like,
hey, Camel Crush, baby.
Those Marlboros. Oh my gosh! All right, boys, I got bath time. I gotta go clean these little. She's at the point where she's got those like just big old rolls. And, the spit up happens, and then you gotta like pick the roll up and like clean the spit up out of the rolls. So,
oh yeah, I feel you, dude.
So we got some tears coming, but I gotta tap.
Cool.
I appreciate you guys having me, man.
Yeah, Bobby, thank you so much for coming on, dude. Yeah, it was so good talking to you and catching up, and I've heard your story through your own podcast a time or two, so hearing it first person was awesome, man, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your night to come chat with us.
For sure. Well, I appreciate the Curry boys more than you guys will ever know. You guys had quite the impact on my childhood, and I'm looking forward to many more times with you boys. But hopefully I'll see you soon, and God bless all you guys, your families. It's been good keeping up with you, and I'd be more than happy to hop on at some point in the future as well, so we can keep going. But good chatting with you boys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take care, man.
Take it easy, man.
Take care, Bob.
Yeah. Have a good night, guys.
You too.
Yeah.
Boys.
All right.
So everyone in the podcast, that was the one, the only Bobby Howell. Boys, we got a couple things to brush up here at the end, Got a little intricate little free space here at the end of the call here. So March Madness, boys.
Mm-hmm.
Anything we want to touch on for any of that kind of stuff? Pretty wild.
Yeah.
Couple 16s beat some ones and some crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we told you we had a perfect bracket, and we were right, obviously. So, I think it was what first game we made it through the first game, and then it was busted. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the point of the bracket. Like, it's gonna get busted at some point.
Yeah.
Just have a little fun with it, man. And
Yeah.
like, like I said, it's gonna get busted. It's just how well you do. Like, do you have a team in the final four correct? Like, that's kind of the big notch on my belt.
Right.
So it's the little things in life.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, who are we rooting for the rest of the way? We're already down to the final four. Anyone you guys are wanting to see pull it off?
All right, someone give me a refresher. It's who? Texas?
No, it's UConn, it's
Okay.
San Diego State, it's Miami, and it's Florida Atlantic.
Okay, yeah.
Mm.
I want a San Diego State or UConn type beat. I mean, UConn with the legacy of the University of Connecticut and playing any college basketball,
Yeah,
would be legendary. But San Diego State, man. And I mean, what that potentially does with the Pac-12 expansion talk, also. I mean, only good things, boys.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that'd be.
Yeah,
No, sorry, TC. I was just gonna. I agree with Chach. I mean, San Diego State coming over to the, Pac-12. I mean, it would be great to see them. But UConn has got a lot of story too, and I mean FAU. I mean, we got a bunch of underdog stories here. I mean, minus San Diego State. But it's good, man. It's good to see some new teams in. But
yeah, I mean, I think San Diego State's like a 5 seed, and Florida Atlantic's a 9 seed.
Yeah.
I gotta rock with the Aztecs the rest of the way, man. I don't really, like I said when we started the bracket, I don't really follow college basketball too heavy.
Sure.
But if not San Diego State, I guess I'm going for UConn. Yeah, just like Chach said, the historical aspect of playing for UConn.
Right.
All the greats. Kemba Walker comes to mind first, but yeah, man, you got to roll with the Aztecs, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, you love to see USC get bounced in the first round. That's great.
Love it.
Just the, like all the little, like Jake Paul has his own betting company, and just to see the madness unfold on Twitter, of everyone like, oh, I'm betting the over for this, or I'm betting the under, and then the timeline is just exploding with content, man. And honestly, like that's what makes college basketball go, is March Madness. I mean, it's no surprise to anyone,
Right.
like, but that's literally like what makes college basketball, is just this one thing, and so like it happens, and it's a great time overall. So
yeah, it's been fun. It's been a good March Madness this year for sure.
Yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to touch on was this. I mean, we've talked about it a lot, but this Lamar situation.
Yeah.
So last week he comes out with this cryptic series of 4 tweets, and basically, long story short, he just says that he requested a trade on March 2nd from the Ravens. And so now they're, kind of getting some backlash, and still no one's interested in Lamar in any sort of capacity. So, I mean, I don't even know, man. It's so weird.
Yeah, like, it's, at this point, like, it has to be some sort of collusion going on, right? Like, there's no way that no team out there, like, there's no suitors for Lamar Jackson. You have teams out there that would give up 2 first-round picks to go get their guy in the draft, and they don't even know what that guy's going to turn out to be. This is Lamar Jackson. This is a former league MVP.
Right.
Just getting into the prime of his career. Like, you're telling me that, like, sorry to do this to you, Schmog, but, like, your Redskins, that wouldn't be a massive upgrade to their entire franchise to land Lamar Jackson?
The Commanders, baby.
Yeah, sorry. For the Commanders, the Falcons,
I would take
the
him in
Colts,
a heartbeat.
Like,
yeah,
the list goes on and on.
Yeah,
it's just like I feel like just they don't want to spend the money. It's the guaranteed money that's the issue, and they don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, dude. I mean, there's got to be at least 20 teams that should be interested in that guy. But TC, I honestly think you said it best when we kind of talked about it the other day, man. It's like, if somebody just gives him that upfront guaranteed money, though, like what's going to happen next season when you have not one,
the market.
yeah, like not one person going after that contract, but you got 20, 25 players saying, hey, I want all this up front. You did it for that guy. Like, you're going to do it for me too, or I walk kind of thing. Like, it's in a bad place. And we all kind of said it was going to get worse before it gets better. And I think it just got a whole lot worse when he came out and said that he requested a trade, you know? It's a situation. And I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know how this ends, but I got a bad feeling. I don't know if it ends well, you know?
Yeah, we were kind of talking about hypotheticals in our little group chat when Lamar posted all the tweets and all that. I mean, I can honestly see him sitting out for the year personally because, I mean, what is it, July 6th? Is that I think that's when all, contracts have to be final and your 90-man roster has to be set.
Yeah.
So, and that is, I mean, it's almost April.
We're getting there.
You got April, May, and June, and then it's July, and so things could get a little slippery. I don't know. I mean, and then do you see just the Ravens and Lamar like sign a panic deal towards the end of the summer? I mean, something like that could very easily happen. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, plus he's come back from an injury, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what they said at least. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, the Ravens, as much as I dislike them, they are a very well-run franchise.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't make stupid moves. They don't have a lot of bad deals on the roster. Like, they're going to do what they want to do, and they're going to stick to the plan. And a lot of times they're a very competitive team because they've stuck to that plan for so many years.
Right.
It's hard to see them just bending the knee at this point, but at the same time, it's just crazy to think that Lamar Jackson possibly won't be a Raven next year.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a crazy thought. Like, they both mean so much to each other. I don't know. Do you guys see any possible road where Lamar Jackson is a Raven next year?
I mean, there's not a way in which the Ravens are going to be able to like pay that money. I mean, maybe they go to him, maybe they say, hey, listen, like we're going to, extend your contract a year. We're going to, even if this is possible, we're going to extend your contract a year. We're going to give you X amount at the end of next year. If you stay healthy, we'll talk about some sort of guaranteed deal. But I mean, beyond that, man, like even if that's a possibility, like, I mean, that's a long shot in my opinion, I mean, I think he's right. I think if he doesn't get the money that he wants, I mean, he'll try to go somewhere else. And then eventually either the Ravens are going to give in or somebody else is going to give in, Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's Lamar Jackson. We're not talking about a backup or, someone that hasn't been productive in a few years. We're talking someone that's, still a very talented, prominent NFL player, So.
Also, I mean, sorry, Shmag, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. Go for it.
The 2 first-round picks thing is also, I think, could be a bigger hurdle to get over for a lot of teams than people are thinking. Like the draft is right around the corner. Obviously, no one wants to give up their draft capital this year, especially if you're a team in the bottom half of the league. And for 2 of them, like everyone gets 1 first-round draft pick, but you have to have 2. So that means you already have to send a player. If you don't already have 2 picks in the bag, so you're already going to have to ship someone off to get this other first-round pick, and it's going to have to be someone with something, I mean, we saw Chase Claypool get traded for like a 3rd or 2nd or something like that. And so, I mean, like Jalen Ramsey got traded for like a 4th and a bag of chocolates, basically. So, I mean, what kind of player you need to give to get a first back, So, I don't know. It's just really interesting, the whole thing.
Kind of seems like it's just worst case scenario, man, just up and down. Like the franchise tag, the guaranteed money, like didn't finish the season last year. Like, he requested a trade earlier this month, man. Like,
that's I was gonna say that it keeps unraveling more and more, and he's having to put to bed the rumors that he was sitting out at the end of last season because of money issue, and it's just getting more and more strange by the day. And now all of a sudden, like almost a month ago at this point, he says, I requested a trade. Like way back on March 2nd. It's like the end of March already.
Yeah.
So just getting very strange, and it's hard to see him coming back to the Ravens. But at the same time, it's like, how could I don't know. It's a very strange situation.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how it plays out being a Steelers fan, just because
Right.
losing Lamar Jackson might just be a crippling blow.
Yeah. You guys only got to worry about Burrow now. Dang.
Yeah, I mean, if we're getting Tyler Huntley twice a year instead of Lamar Jackson, I'm
I feel
satisfied.
good about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do either of you know what he's asking for? What contract? What number he's asking for up front?
What is it, like 295 million? I don't
Yeah,
know the years.
I don't know the dollar amount or the years. I just know it's a lot of
I'll find it.
guaranteed or maybe a fully guaranteed deal.
He's a mobile quarterback. His likeness is because he's a mobile guy. That's scary.
He gets hurt a lot.
And he gets hurt a lot. Yeah.
I mean, we saw what happened in the last year. That's not the first time he's had to miss time.
Yeah.
So you can see the Ravens' concern about dishing out all that money.
Yeah.
When he's not on the field all the time.
Right.
And they are already thin in the wide receiver room. They have other needs they need to address. And like I said on our previous podcast, last couple of years, you get a quarterback on a relatively inexpensive deal and build a team around him. That's kind of the formula of success, with a few exceptions, of course.
Right.
That's not the only way to do it, but lately it's been kind of the rule of thumb.
Yeah.
So Fox Sports says that Lamar is asking for $50 million per year, fully guaranteed. So the years isn't on here, but he's asking for $50 million a year, which is what Deshaun Watson got. So I can't imagine that's too crazy, but I think it's fully guaranteed I think he wants it fully guaranteed for the whole term of the contract is the big thing.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Oh man, and that franchise tag, man, just. Bleh.
Yeah, so the franchise tag would pay him $32.4 million per season, fully guaranteed.
Yeah, like I'm seeing another Le'Veon Bell situation right around the corner with this. I don't think that anyone's necessarily going to be able to give up those 2 first-round picks. So I don't know if the trade. I don't even know where we're at anymore. Like, can he just be traded at this point, or do they still have to give up the 2 first-round picks because he's on the tag? Like, I don't know where we're at with this anymore.
Yeah.
But I do see if the Ravens keep him on the roster, I don't think he plays next year.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. Not a good thing, man.
Cool.
Is there anything else we want to touch on, my dudes?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm good, fellas.
I'm pretty good as well.
I think I'm good.
Well, for everyone listening and tuned in on the live stream, that is officially going to do it for episode 22 of the Keep It Down podcast. We had Bobby on, had to leave for the bath duties as per usual. So just a huge thank you to Bobby for coming on, sharing some time with the boys and all that stuff with 4-week-old baby at home. So huge shout out to him. Boys, shout out to the people, huh?
Yeah, guys. Thanks for listening, and we had a great time. And you know what? If I can give you one piece of advice, and a very wise man once told me this, it's go start that 401k if you haven't already. All right? Go do it.
Yeah, anyone who listens, I mean, Bobby is just an excellent resource of information for anything finance related. If you're younger, or it doesn't matter what age you are, if you have any questions, I mean, Bobby is, I'm sure he doesn't mind, but he's on Instagram. Give him a follow. Shoot him a message if you have any questions. I mean, he's the type of dude that's going to take time out of his day to answer your kind of questions, and especially if you tell him that the boys sent you, he'll be glad to answer any of those. But yeah, I mean, use that as a resource for sure. And we were so happy to have Bobby on, and we all love that dude, and we're very thankful to have grown up with him and with his family. So it's a great episode, boys. It was a blast.
Absolutely, and we'll throw Bobby's social handles in the post description and all that good stuff. So if anyone wants to reach out about any finance questions, or he's just a smart dude overall. So you can probably ask him anything, and he knows something. So but yeah, that's gonna do it for us, boys. And if you do one thing, make sure you be good people out there. Tell somebody you love them, and take care of each other. Peace.
Peace.